Hi there, this is Nick Roach. Thank you for watching. If it's your first time, very welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Thank you. Again, I like to do videos outside rather than stuck indoors, but it can get windy. I've tucked the microphone inside. I'm hoping it's quieter. Avoid some of the wind noise. Hopefully it'll be okay. So, I've said a bit in the past about what is called the Great Awakening and the two aspects, either two aspects of it or two separate I want to say the word situations, but I don't think I mean that, but two separate trains of thought or action, both referred to as the Great Awakening. There's the QAnon movement, the Trump et al., exposing, specifically the Q stuff, exposing the misdeeds, the lies, the horrors that have apparently been going on behind the scenes for a very long time. That Great Awakening. And there's the Great Awakening of the Earth, raising in consciousness of the Earth itself, the vibration, and if we're to go with it and not get left behind, if we want to move into the 5D consciousness, then we need to do it. And that means letting go of your holding on to your beliefs, your opinions, your likes, your dislikes, your regrets, the anger, you're right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. Let go of all that, and it's a more accepting, conscious being, accepting of everything, because everything is your own self. Everything is reflected in consciousness. Everything is consciousness. So I've spoken about that. And I've spoken about how to do that. So, here I'm going to talk about specifically the vibration of the Q movement, because it is curious, and the vibrations aren't something which is my particular necessary expertise, because I deal with consciousness and emotion, working through that to realize your true nature, which is God, to use one term of many possibilities. Pure consciousness, source, because everything is that. There is no separation. So as you dissolve the emotion in you, which is unconscious energy, and you work through that, uncovering it, you become more and more that which is aware all the time, which is consciousness. And when you're looking out through your eyes, and normally you're looking out onto what's around you, from a space inside to a space outside, these two begin to merge. And eventually there is no in and out, not really. Physically, obviously, you can see it, but the experience is there is no out. And thus there is no in. It's purely an energetic consciousness, a projection of appearance within consciousness, a 3D virtual reality, which is myself. I'm operating within myself, made for myself. This is my own consciousness expressing itself as images and colours and dances and sensory perceptions, which are nothing but energetic electrical impulses in consciousness. There's nothing else here. So that's my experience. Not some time ago, but each and every moment, this is myself. So this is the raise in consciousness. And that's where we are going to, the 5D experience, the fifth dimensional consciousness. Not the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension itself is vibrating, it is non-physical. It's not a physical environment. And the third dimension definitely is. But when we're talking about consciousness, it is said the third dimension of consciousness is the black and white. Very much limited box thinking. Everything has little boxes. Excuse me a moment. because I'm outside, I'm using my phone and a message popped up. So, everything is consciousness. But the third vibration is everything is physical, fixed, and my mind is that way if I'm a third dimensional thinker, which most people are at this time. I like that, I don't like that. I hate that, I love that. That's good, that's bad. In fact, that reminds me, just to make the point, there's an old spiritual story. I might get the details wrong, but you'll get the point. That there was a man whose son had been out trying to catch some wild horses, and while he was there trying to catch them, he fell off his horse and he broke his arm. And when the son returned to the farm, villagers nearby said, well, that was bad luck. And the man said, maybe. A short while later, some soldiers came around recruiting, forced recruitment, anyone able to go and fight. And the boy had a broken arm, he couldn't go. And the villagers said to the old man, wow, that was lucky. He goes, maybe. Now the story might go on, I don't remember anything else, but the point is, we don't know what's going to happen. But actually everything, from a fifth dimensional perspective, everything is absolutely right and perfect, as it should be at any given moment. Everything is right. And if it's not, if I'm not comfortable with something with my vibration, then I fix the vibration. I hold the energy of it, I make the energy conscious, the energy dissolves, and the outside situation, which I was uncomfortable about, will itself dissolve. As within, so without. So anything I'm not happy about in my life, I fix. First within, but also physically, what can I do practically? Because we're not avoiding problems here. As within, so without. But don't keep trying to fix the problem if you're wallowing in the emotion, because you're wallowing and feeding the very energy that's keeping the problem outside going. You have to do it, start within. So the fifth dimensional thinking is being conscious. And then everything is right. Even if it's uncomfortable, it is right. And if I need to address something, I address it, but it's right. And it's right that I address it. If I don't address it, that's right too, there's no judgment. This is the fifth dimensional thinking. Third dimensional thinking, that's good, lucky, that's bad luck. I don't like that, I like that. I'm angry about him, I hate him. She did wrong, they shouldn't have said this. What I did then was very bad, I shouldn't have done that, I'm a bad person. All these things are three-dimensional thinking. And I've told you the fifth dimension. So what is the fourth? Now the fourth dimensional is said to be literally an in-between stage between 3 and 5, where you're neither one nor the other. The fourth doesn't have its own fixed vibration or dimension. You're not stuck in the fourth conscious dimension, you're flitting. It's when you start to ask questions, almost. And that's what I was getting to with the video. It occurred to me the other day, the Q movement, the Q and non, which is called the Great Awakening, occurred to me, that fits the description, as I understand it, of fourth dimensional thinking. It's exposing the darkness. It's getting people to ask questions, getting people to challenge what their beliefs, their other people's beliefs, getting people to look critically at stuff they've never even thought of looking at before. And it starts to dismantle, disassemble their structured beliefs held for many, many years often. And in society, beliefs, assumptions held and perpetuated for decades and longer. So to me, the Q movement is itself fourth dimensional. At least it is if you're in a third dimensional structure and you've always believed the mainstream media, and you move into the asking questions, in that moment and the movement, I'd suggest you're moving up in vibration. And it worked for me. Each time I find a new conspiracy, I go, oh, that's interesting. Does that fit? That might be true. Oh, wow, I'm a bit lighter. But I don't hold on to it. It's just, that's interesting, tick that box, that might be true. What's next? And therefore, for me, learning about the information is an opening up, a letting go, a moving forward all the time. It's a not holding on. So to me, the Q awakening, the Great Awakening, is helping people move initially from the third dimensional thinking, questioning, so they're now in the fourth dimensional, questioning, analysing, challenging beliefs, which is good. But do you then keep going? Start to step back within yourself and realise it's all part of the game. You need to have the both, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, the light and dark. When you have one, you create the other. And this part of the spiritual process, with the earth vibration lifting up, is exposing the darkness. And we recognise what is then good, and we let it go, we rise above it. But in the Q groups, I keep seeing a lot of anger, a lot of hatred. Sometimes between themselves, but usually it's against the cabal, deep state, calling it that, for all the atrocities that are, I'll say, being exposed, without any attachment to it on my part. That's the point, just information. So they're angry, hateful. Some of them are saying, and it's understandable, these people should be not just locked up, but worse. And they're looking forward to seeing and hearing about all the awful things these people have done and how they're being punished, and, you know, to the extreme. It serves them right. And that, to me, that's not fifth dimensional stuff. It's not even fourth dimensional stuff. You've got the information which got you to question, and now you've straight away taken it back down with you into the third dimension again, third dimensional consciousness. You started asking questions, lovely, got your answers, and took it back down into a little hole where you can start naming, continue to name and blame and accuse and judge and hate and be resentful. And then you tell other people who haven't found the information yet, and you start going on at them, I'm saying you understand, just an example, someone might. You start going on about how you need to find out about this because this bad stuff's happening, and you're part of the problem if you don't do something about it. If you don't believe me, you're accepting all these awful things that ever happen, and it's partly your fault because you're not doing anything about it. You're not telling people how awful the stuff's been going on, and you need to believe this because you're part of the problem. And they lose friends over it, and they just think they're trying to save the world and stop all the bad stuff. But they're in their little third dimensional hole, in their hovel, being angry and vicious and nasty. I don't care. No judgment from me. People are exactly where they need to be. So this video is just offering you. You can see where I'm going. The Trump, I mentioned Trump because he is associated with the Q stuff, because he's said to be taking down the bad people and the bad things. And if that's the case, fantastic. I'm not political in the slightest. I follow events a little bit, and something good seems to be happening. That's good. And it does seem the Q movement, like I said, it is getting people to start asking questions, begin to ask the challenging their own perspectives, the beliefs they've held for so long, they're no longer accepting them. And that's fantastic. And that is part of dismantling not just the external society, but their own belief systems. And as within, so without, as you dismantle your belief systems, you are dismantling the outside society as well. You're helping it dismantle, because the outside, as within, so without, is part of your own, it's yourself. It's your environment and consciousness. So that's working. But without telling you what to do, I'm going to suggest be careful about your vibration. I love, as I said, exploring some of the conspiracies. Great fun. And some of them are perhaps not so fun in their content. And you'll know what I mean if you have looked at any of it. And that's okay. Bad stuff, exposed, apparently being stopped now. Gone. Good. Moving on. But if you start thinking and wallowing in it, thinking about how bad it's been, how long it's been going on, how so many people have suffered as a result, you're now back in your three-dimensional hole. And you'll believe in your mind that you're doing all those people a service by wallowing in your own emotional suffering as a result. And you're not helping anybody. As within, so without. If anything, you're perpetuating the very problem, because your energy is so dark and dense, and you're putting that out into your environment. You're polluting the world with your unhappiness. That's a tough thing to say, isn't it? It's true though. If you have dark, low, heavy energy, low vibration, you're polluting the world with that vibration. And yet that's absolutely fine. It's your life, your world. I have my own world, my own vibration, and it's great. So, it's important to recognize, if we're ready to, that what we are inside is what we project outwards. And the outside is literally a projection, a reflection of a deeper truth within oneself. So I'm not telling you for a moment that you should not be investigating conspiracies, because I've enjoyed it the last few months. Blow my mind, but blow my mind open. Keep looking at new things. But there's no holding on. It's not, oh, that's another one to be angry about. That's another one to be angry about. That's another one to be angry. No, I don't do angry. I want my vibration to be high, so I'm rising above the whole thing. I'm injecting consciousness, higher vibration into my own environment, and anyone, hopefully, let's say, I come in contact with, I'm lifting the energy. The world, I'm lifting the energy. It's my job to be conscious, bring the energy up, not drag it down. So that's what I wanted to say. The Q movement is, to me, it looks like fourth dimensional thinking, because it's dismantling one's beliefs and opinions about how things are, exposing the darkness that has been going on. And to me, having exposed it, you're exposing it to the light. And you transmute it into light. As I dissolve emotion, as I describe how to do it, you hold it consciously and it dissolves, and you let it go. You hold on to emotion in an unconscious way. You continue to feel it, you feed it, and it will stay there forever. And as emotion is the energy that creates your physical environment, it's the lower density, that is karma. Another thing, I haven't mentioned this video, but I have in others, karma. Your emotional state and what emotion you haven't yet resolved is your karmic energy that keeps bringing the circumstances of your life back again, the same ones. When you hold them and dissolve them, you resolve the karma, dissolve the karma, and that trail of problems never has to happen anymore. You've dissolved the past and resolved the future before it happens. you've done it. That whole thread of karma has gone by living consciously when the emotion arises. And this energy is the same. When you find out information that's dark and worrying, personally, I don't go into it too deep. The moment I find something, for me, I'm not trying to pass an exam on it. I don't have to convince anybody else. I read or watch enough videos to understand the basics. Okay, well that's been happening, probably. If it hasn't, I don't care. If it has, I don't care. I've accepted it might be a truth. I've exposed that as a possibility, let it go, back here again. So it's being exposed to the light, to the consciousness, and let go. Don't go down the rabbit hole and get stuck there of the Q movement, Q information. It's called a great awakening. Great awakening when you're stuck in a hole of suffering, angry and resentful. That's awake to the information. But it's not awake to life and love and consciousness. And that's not moving into the fifth dimension. That's not the great awakening from a spiritual perspective. It's awakening to your suffering and still holding on to it. So it's all good. It's about consciousness. It's about light. It's about acknowledgement. And holding the space. And it's all good. Feel free to subscribe. I've got the video, I've got the books through the book page on the website. There's a free PDF on there, as I said, as well. Loads of videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again. Thank you.